morning, Santa Paula. It's Thursday, October 8th. I got it right this time. And here to meet with me today is Dan Singer, the city manager of Santa Paula, to update us on some various subjects. And there's so much going on. So good morning, Dan. Always a pleasure to see you.
Good morning, likewise.
Yes, I guess, boy, we are really in election season. So
yes, we are.
And I know the city's doing a lot about the election to help people vote. And why don't you give us an idea of what's going on?
Sure. Ballots were mailed out by the county, so people should have received those by now. If you haven't, that means you're either not registered or maybe a change of address or some other glitch, and you should reach out to the county for that. Election day is coming up on November 3rd, and I think it's just because of the unusual nature of this year with the COVID restrictions and the mail-in ballots.
Yes.
It's helpful just to give the public a clear idea of what they can and should do with that ballot. So let me just cover that really quickly. The first thing, of course, is you can stick it in the mail, and that's probably the easiest means of voting. The second is that we will have a polling place that will be open for the 4 days leading up to the election. It's at Isbell Middle School on Harvard Boulevard. That polling place will open on Saturday before the Tuesday election, and then be open on Sunday, Monday, and the day of the election on Tuesday. So if you have problems or questions or some type of oddity, or you feel you need to talk to someone or you want to drop it off in person, that's one way to do it. The other neat thing is that we have a permanent ballot box installation right here in front of City Hall, across from Veterans Park on Ventura Boulevard, just off of 10th Street. And it's lit, it's easily accessible, ADA wheelchair accessible. People I've seen are already coming and putting their ballots in that box. Mm-hmm. It'll be emptied by the county elections office and verified by our own city clerk. So there's a check and balance there, and it's a really safe way to vote. So those are the three convenient ways, but there's something special we're also doing. Starting next week, we want to offer assistance to people who might not have mobility. Either they don't have their license, they don't have a vehicle, maybe they're ambulatory and disabled, or senior and kind of in a fixed situation. And we are willing to, if they call in and make an appointment, we are willing to come and pick up their ballot. We sign the back as an affidavit that we're delivering it, and we will then deliver it to the mailbox that we have, the ballot box that we have out here at City Hall. So that's a really nice service to help encourage people that might not vote because they simply can't get out and do it.
I think that's wonderful. Now, and of course, you'll keep a running tab of how many people take advantage of this, and it's really a wonderful thing because we've got a lot,
including name and address, and we'll also validate, with a photo that it's being dropped in the box. So
now, and of course, people have to keep in mind that they don't need postage if they are going to use the mail.
Right.
It's postage paid, and they would like them to, and I guess anything that's postmarked the day of the election is acceptable before 8 o'clock. And I know my biggest fear is that people will forget to sign and date the envelope. And they have to, so that's one thing I've been trying to emphasize, but I think it's very exciting. I think people are very excited about voting. I think that, we've discussed before that Ventura County already has in the primary election, they had 72 or 73% of all the people who voted did use a mail-in ballot and a drop-off ballot or whatever you want to call it. So I think that's great. And of course, we have our own elections in Santa Paula.
Two seats on the city council. There's 3 seats on the school board. There's college district. There's a county supervisor. There's plenty of local reasons to vote, irrespective of what your politics are and your feelings about, state or federal elections.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's also a lot of propositions on the ballot this year. So it's worth diving into, and we encourage people to get out there and make their vote seen.
Absolutely. And there are certain, I know the League of Women Voters, who's a very trustworthy organization. I believe they put up a video that will help people understand the ballot measures if they want to do that. So if they go to their, if they Google League of Women Voters Ventura County, they should be able to find a link to that. So
Right.
that'll really help a lot. Now, we're all going to go and vote as good Americans, but on October 15th is the Great American Shakeout. So why don't you explain that to the audience?
Yeah, so once a year, people gather together to basically ready themselves for earthquakes, because we know they're not a matter of if, but when in California. And so this is an opportunity to prepare your family, prepare yourself, prepare your organizations for the probability of an earthquake. And so we'll be practicing along with the rest of the nation on the 15th at, I think it's 10:10 in the morning, when the shaking will begin. Of course, it's all a mock, but we want people to go through that exercise. We're going to have some promotional videos that are going to be out on our website and on our police page, since they help us with our emergency preparedness. I believe those are going to be released on social media today or tomorrow, and we're really encouraging residents to use this as an opportunity to make sure that their families have a plan, that they have supplies in place, that they know what to do, especially if they have children, that they talk about this with their children, and ready their households for really any type of an emergency, but especially one that hits us so suddenly like an earthquake.
Yes, absolutely. Now, is the city going to have any sort of a formal California Shakeout exercise, or are they just basically just really encouraging participation?
This year, we're mostly encouraging participation. Last year, we did a full-blown exercise, which is great training for our own employees. Because of COVID, not to use that as an excuse, but we have to limit the gathering and the meetings, and so it's kind of difficult to justify bringing 20 people into a room and doing a mock exercise.
Yeah, and you don't have the room to keep them apart. So,
right.
Yeah, no, well, that's great though, that the city's encouraging participation just by being prepared. So that's wonderful. Now, COVID, red tier.
We took a big step on Tuesday. The whole county did. And, we were here once before, so it shouldn't feel like such a monumental step, but it's been a while in coming. So I think there's a lot to be thankful for. The opportunity now to open up more businesses, to allow indoor gathering of smaller groups, especially for our restaurants, who can be at 25% capacity. It's really a timely advance for them. It'll allow a lot of restaurants to still combine outdoor dining, which includes this great weather we're having, with some indoor dining, but then also in the evening or when it gets colder, to be able to dine indoors. Religious institutions are allowed to open back up. Gyms, fitness facilities are allowed to open back up. There's various personal services that had been restricted, that some of those have been lifted. More opportunities for recreation type classes. So this is an important step forward. We still have to be mindful that the virus is around us, and taking precautions for businesses. They still have to register and be inspected. People have to wear masks indoors, obviously, unless they're eating, and follow other good hygiene practices. So, but it's really exciting to see that. I think it's just in time for a lot of our businesses that were struggling so much.
Oh, I know. And people have really been cooperating for the most part. I mean, I'm really impressed when I go out and leave the house and everybody's wearing masks and nobody's complaining and nobody looks put upon. It's just what we have to do for the time being, and they realize that that's helping everyone. So I've been very proud of Santa Paula, because they've been very, very cooperative with that. So,
and numbers have settled down a good bit as a result. So
yes, absolutely.
Expecting expecting that to go further so we can move to the next tier sooner than later. You know, people do need to stay diligent.
Mhm. Now, of course, you don't represent the school district, but I guess they're saying that they might start some reopenings October 21st if this keeps up. So that's just a couple of weeks on a Wednesday. So we'll have to see. That'll be a big step. So we'll see on that.
Yeah.
Wastewater treatment plant refunding. I know that the council and yourself and everybody's been trying to save money. You have big expenses coming up as far as improving our water quality. And I know that's a lot of that state mandated. So would you like to address that?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. We are facing some large cost increases in the coming years because we're mandated to further purify the water that basically ends up, you know, in our creeks and going into our groundwater because it's high in chlorides, essentially high in salt, if you will. And to do that, we're going to have to create a reverse osmosis system that will help further purify the water that gets discharged. And that comes at a high operating cost. And so we've been really trying to tackle how do we offset that cost so that we don't have to put it on the backs of our ratepayers. And a huge step was taken on Tuesday in that respect because we were able to go to market with all of our debt and refund it. You know, we had been paying just over 5% interest for 30-year bonds that we had. And so we've now taken those, we've restructured it, and we've dropped that interest rate down just over 3%.
Wow, that's great.
And it will reduce our annual costs by over $900,000 a year, which is just terrific.
That's wonderful.
Now, I would be celebrating further and holding up a glass of champagne or a good margarita if it weren't for the fact that we're going to have these upcoming costs. So I hesitate to get too excited about it, lest we'll have, you know, our residents saying, hey, when are we going to see our rates go down? Not that we couldn't reduce the rates based on that savings, but in a year from now, we'd be back to raising them again. And that just wouldn't make good sense.
And that's to take care of like the reverse osmosis system that the city's going to have to build per state. You know, I mean, to meet all the guidelines and the permitting process and everything.
That's right. And that system is already being designed. Council took some further action just last night in that respect. So we anticipate construction starting in 2021 and being completed in 2022. So it's coming up quick.
Well, that is coming up quick. It has to now.
Yeah, this bond refunding came at a perfect time.
Oh, that's great. And I know too that you had told me earlier that as far as like saving the $900,000 a year, and then there's some other cost savings methods that you're looking in models for public works and all that, and that actually that'll probably add on to it. So hopefully when it comes to building the new plant, the city can break even and actually just keep paying for it and without raising rates and, you know, and things like that. So that would really be great because finally we could put that issue to bed.
That would be our goal. One of the things that we'll bring to council in the coming weeks is a number of concepts around energy efficiency, which will reduce our costs on an ongoing basis and improve our environmental footprint. So that's another way that we may be able to save hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, our energy cost to pump sewage and pump water is one of the greatest expenses we have. So our bill to Edison,
$1 million a year, isn't it, or more?
Yeah, it's over $400,000 a year for our waste treatment plant, close to $400,000 for our water. Of course, our street lighting and parks and city facilities are another couple $100,000. So, you know, we're paying about $1 million a year to Edison, and we love nothing more than to see that, you know, cut in half with some solar and energy efficiency projects.
Oh, that's great. And like you said, that's great for the Earth's footprint. You know, Mother Earth would appreciate that. That's for sure.
She'll be smiling.
Yeah, she'll be smiling.
Fewer chlorides and less pollution.
I know, and better water. Oh boy, that would be heavenly. When I wash my hair, I wouldn't even know how to act with good water, with soft water. That's wonderful. Well, Dan, anything else that you would like to discuss? Anything else going on that?
The only other plug I would give is that thanks to the courts, we actually are continuing the census count. And so although it looked like that was going to end at the end of September, we're actually still going till the end of October. So if you know of people that haven't gotten their census forms in or haven't been counted, please reach out. Let us know. You can look at the Santa Paula Counts, SP Counts website. Call the chamber, call the city, help us get that count out, because it's our last push now to get people counted.
Yes, and it's 9 questions, takes 3 minutes.
Yep.
There's no excuse. Everybody should be counted. I agree 100%. And thank you for bringing that up. Okay, well, listen, it certainly is a pleasure talking to you as always, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for the update. And once again, this is Peggy Kelly, and I'm with Dan Singer, the city manager of Santa Paula, and he's given us some very pertinent information about what's going on the city and actually countywide and statewide when it comes to several of these issues. And we appreciate it, Dan, and you have a wonderful weekend. Okay?
Thanks, you too, Peggy.
Okay, thank you so much.